President Cyril Ramaphosa will deliver the eulogy at the funeral of South Africa's ambassador to France, Nathi Mthethwa, in KwaMbonambi outside of Durban tomorrow. Mthethwa has been accorded a special official funeral category 2, which includes the South African Police Service performing ceremonial duties. He was found dead in a Paris hotel's inner courtyard after falling from the 22nd floor more than a week ago. The South African Police Service has deployed a 5-member team to assist the French authorities with the investigation into the ambassador's death, and several ANC leaders have remembered Mthethwa as a selfless leader worthy of emulation. Preparations for the funeral are underway. All right, and for more on this, let's now cross live to SABC News anchor Bongiwe Zwane and SABC News specialist, the correspondent Sophie Mokoena, and they are currently at the Mthethwa homestead in KwaMbonambi. Bongiwe, I mean, we've been monitoring, the preparations for the funeral of the late ambassador to France, and of course, this afternoon we finally saw the body of the late ambassador being taken into his homestead. What's the latest?
A very good evening to you, Mbali, and good evening to the viewers as well. As you say, we're coming to you live from KwaMbonambi here in KwaZulu-Natal. This is the place where a number of people that have been lining up to welcome back the body of Nathi Mthethwa home. Some are saying that it's a welcome back home, but it's a solemn and a very sad and somber one for them, because this is a man that they've come to know not only as a cabinet minister to you and I, Mbali, but also a man who they say was one of their own. But Nathi Mthethwa was not only a cabinet minister or former cabinet minister, Mbali, but also on the international stage. He was making some inroads, and that is where Sophie and I this evening are going to start our conversation. And Sophie, of course, you and I have been talking about a lot of what he's done as far as the situation in Palestine is concerned. Perhaps let's start there, because in one of our top stories tonight, we're reporting that some of those who left Gaza are starting to return.
It's said that he is not there to witness perhaps a glimmer of hope, where we see Palestinians moving back to Gaza. As you know, that him being an ambassador, a diplomat in Europe, he also engaged France, or the government of France, about South Africa's quest to rally support for the Palestinians. And it is in this country where he was. We saw in September the president of France, Emmanuel Macron, making an announcement that he is going to recognize Palestine as a state. And that happened on the margins of the United Nations, because Nathi Mthethwa, growing up in the ANC, it wasn't only national politics but also international politics. As you know, that ANC, the oldest liberation organization on the continent, it had an international outlook, particularly focusing on the continent as a pan-Africanist movement. And therefore, members of the African National Congress, in different shapes or forms or structures, they don't only engage on national issues but on international issues. Now, Nathi Mthethwa, being a person who loved issues that were related with empowering of ANC members, in terms of the political education, just like Joel Netshitenze, people who loved the strategy and tactics. He also was very fond of international politics. And we saw the clip 2 weeks ago, the clip that made the rounds, where he was speaking with very powerful voice and forcefully so about the Palestinians and the plight of the people of Gaza in particular. And therefore, being in Europe, you know that you also have the members of the diplomatic corps of South Africa in different parts of Europe. And therefore, I think that network, they also played a very important role to push for support for the Palestinians. As you know, that the ANC policy on international relations. It's all about peace and security, and the Palestinian cause has always been something that has been championed by the African National Congress. Whether you talk about Nelson Mandela, who said we are not free until the Palestinians are free, because even under oppression, the Palestinians were fighting side by side, were supporting the struggle in South Africa. Then Beki, the same issue, and then of course Kgalema Motlanthe, that stinged the same. He continued. Former President Jacob Zuma continued with the struggle of the Palestinian people. President Ramaphosa is doing just that. And therefore, the diplomats, wherever they are, they know that this is a critical issue as we look at issues of peace and security. But yesterday, I was at an event where there was a sword turning of institution or a center for former President Thabo Mbeki. One speaker stood up there to say the way Nathi Mthethwa had passion for culture and also political education and the history of the African continent and the history of the ANC, he supported when that center was conceptualized, because he was the Minister of Arts and Culture. And therefore, he really was an institutional memory in terms of the political education, and as they say it in the ANC jargon, umkhabulo. And therefore, he didn't only do that on national issues, but also on international issues.
And Sophie, you and I will continue our conversations even on the other side of 7 o'clock. But Mbali, let me quickly bring in someone. You heard Sophie speak about umkhabulo, right? This is someone who would have done exactly that with the late Nathi Mthethwa, and that is Dr. Malusi Gigaba. He's not only the co-chair of the Joint Stand.
All right, unfortunately, it seems as if we are losing that connection to my colleague there, Bongiwe Zwane, who was just about to be in a conversation with former minister as well. Of course, that is Malusi Gigaba, who's also a close friend to the late Nathi Mthethwa. Let's go back again to Bongiwe.
But also the, the ANC as a whole. Thank you so much for your time. And one of the things that one can say is condolences, but watching how you've been speaking since the passing, it's very difficult for you to understand what happened. It's difficult for you to accept this moment.
It is indeed very difficult. We have lost an esteemed member of our generation. We have lost someone whom we grew up with and who was not only a professional colleague, but was more than anything else a personal friend. We've shared together many professional and personal milestones on both sides. And so to be here today, to witness this moment when we see him still silent and without a voice, knowing that tomorrow we will inter him into the ground and lose all personal contact with him forever, is a very somber and sad moment for all of us, and more so for his wife. And I think our hearts go out to her. We feel her pain. We understand how she feels at this stage and how confusing this moment is for her.
And you speak about the many moments you would have shared, both professionally but also privately. Speak about one that stands out for you.
I was fortunate to have been one of the Lobola negotiators for him. He, in his usual easy way, just gave me a call and said, I want you to be in Pietermaritzburg on this date as part of my Lobola negotiators. And we laughed about it. As a result, I arrived late and I was fined a bottle of whiskey. But then towards his wedding, I met with him in Johannesburg. He was walking with his wife, then fiancé. And it was about 7 days before the wedding. And again, in an easy way, he says to me, next Saturday, you are my best man, and the groomsmen don't have suits and outfits yet, so please sort it out. I wasn't aware that I was one of the groomsmen. I wasn't aware that I was the best man, but I now had to jump into action and get that sorted out. So he was an easy person, beyond the serious face that he put up and when he was undertaking his professional political responsibilities. He was a very lovely and affable human being who had a great sense of humor and was a great friend.
Definitely had to have had a great sense of humor to tell you 7 days before that you need to start preparing. But perhaps let's talk about your time within the African National Congress, because you do have people who speak about some key moments that would have out in front of the television cameras, where you are able to capture his standpoint on one issue or another. But there would have been some private ANC reflections that both of you shared. I wonder, when it comes to his contribution to the party, the ANC, the struggle, what is it that you take away from that life at the stage?
Comrade Nathi was a builder. He was involved in the rebuilding of the structures of the ANC, and especially the ANC Youth League, from before the unbanning through the period of transition. Even now, he was involved in the rebuilding of the ANC. He was a builder. He also was a political commissar and a political educator who loved political education, believing that we must inject ANC members with political consciousness so that they are clear about the tasks which they carry in society and how therefore they should conduct themselves in respect of those responsibilities, because he believed that members of the ANC must conduct themselves in society in a manner that befitted the responsibility which the ANC carries in society, so that when people look at us, they are able to have a positive view of the ANC. He was also a progressive internationalist who championed the cause of the Palestinian people and the people of Western Sahara. He researched extensively about the struggles of the Sahrawi people and wrote many papers about those advocating for their freedom and their national self-determination. He believed that Africa had to free itself completely from the clutches of.
All right, seems as if we are losing that connection once again to my colleague there. Of course, it seems as if it has come back online, but it seems as if we are struggling, but we'll continue to be giving you coverage throughout this evening. And let's take you back now to Bongiwe once again.
The dynamics, social and economic, that are involved in the social formation of society. It is difficult for you to understand what you need to do in order to take society better. So for me, Nathi leaves South Africa in a difficult moment, but it is better than when he found it. And I think that his contribution must be understood in respect of all those roles and responsibilities he carried in his different aspects of our social engagement.
Briefly, as a final one then, you speak about the difficult moment, but also the ANC. You say that he wanted the members of the ANC to always be seen in a positive light. What did he think of the ANC now?
He was worried about the condition of the ANC, worried about all of the challenges that we are facing, and that's why he was so indispensable in the program of political and organizational renewal, and wanted at all times. If you read the strategy and tactics, you hear the spirit of his ideas coming out about our conduct, about the character of the ANC and the importance of political and organizational renewal, so that we are able to project the ANC strongly in society as a movement to which all our people should belong.
Thank you so much for talking to us. I know you've got quite a lot to do, but thank you for speaking to us. Mbali, I know that the signal from time to time, does come and go, but it speaks to where we find ourselves. KwaMbonambi, one of those areas that also, has been, in fact, struggling with when it comes to connection, because we have actually been having some of those network issues. But as you heard from some of, the comrades here earlier on, speaking to even his brother-in-law, that would be Dr. Sfiso Buthelezi, they speak about a man who not only contributed to society, but also contributed to the ANC, contributed to his family, and will continue to take some more reflections for you throughout the course of the evening. Studio.
All right, thank you so much, Bongiwe. That's SABC News anchor Bongiwe Zwane there, also speaking with Sophie Mokoena, who's SABC News' specialist correspondent, also in conversation with Malusi Gigaba at KwaMbonambi in KwaZulu-Natal. And as you heard there from Bongiwe, we'll continue then to continue giving you that coverage live from KwaMbonambi in KZN.